right? So the hard part is now over with, and now Ivan and Romero will be moving on to my next phase announcement, which will be Design My Map, where I'll be talking about the world that I created for Last Hope for Zanus. Again, stay tuned for that announcement. You're looking for an interesting video for that. So for my Design My Map, you're probably looking at the most interesting video out of all my phase announcements, because I bought my board. I'm gonna write on my board. I'm gonna talk about for the first. I'll film. For the first hour, I'll film with this background. I'll talk about. I'll sidetrack. I'll mention how I finished Design My Map. I'll sidetrack, and then and then I'll upload that video, and I'll upload another hour to an hour and 30-minute video. The first part will talk about the world building, the world that I created, and the second part I'll talk about the characters, like Papyri, Tacitonius, Cassius, Baramis, Lithius, Job, Eli, Sirius, Cornelius, Elizabeth, Lithia, Bel, Mary, Aratat, Fool, Morale, Bass, Mass, Bo, the Pit Watcher, the Crows, the Eagles. You know what I'm saying? We'll talk about all those characters. Ephesus, all these characters that are in the book, obviously. I'm going to talk about all the characters that are in the book. You're looking at a very interesting video for that. So stay tuned for that video. You're probably looking at the best video. My Design Map video will probably be the best video out of all my phase announcement videos. So I'm going to talk about the world Zanus I created. I'm not going to give any spoilers. You'll find out when you read the book. Best friends don't written, by the way. But for that video, I'm going to talk about the world of Zanus I created. You listen to my Instagram. I'm going to write it on my board. I bought my board. I'm going to write on the board. I'm going to write on the board. I'm going to film it. I'm going to talk about the world of Zanus I created. Look at an interesting video for that. But anyways, before I talk about the editors I want to bring on board, I want to talk about George Lucas himself and how I'll be hiring him to help me and my wife start SkySource, considering he owned his own company independent from Hollywood. So before I talk about the editors I want to bring on board, I'm going to talk about George Lucas. So not only would George Lucas be a consultant during the 4 years of Zanus, again, pay him a few $100,000 royalties check to consult for the 4 years. I'm going to fly him. When me and my wife fly to Vancouver, I'm going to fly George Lucas to Vancouver. I'm going to have him help me and my wife start SkySource. Because George Lucas had a company independent from Hollywood, he's the best man to help me and my wife start SkySource. So to help me and my wife start SkySource. Like, okay, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to ask George, hey, what do me and my wife need to do? You know what I'm saying? How do we like, you know what I'm saying? Give us some advice for the copyright. Because you need to copyright your company, obviously. So even when I start SkySource, we're going to need to hire a lawyer to trademark our company name, to design our logo. George Lucas will be helping me and my wife with all that. Because I don't, at the end of the day, even though like I don't know anything about the film business. I know a little bit about it, but I don't know anything about the ins and outs of the film business. Hence, I need someone to help me. Hence why I'm going to hire George Lucas to help me and my wife start SkySource. So George Lucas will be in Vancouver for the 2 months, helping me and my wife start plan SkySource. Obviously, he'll be helping me starting the company because considering he owned an independent company, independent from Hollywood. So once Ivan O'Mara pays this bullshit fee and saves his beautiful wife, once I meet VJ in Los Angeles, then we settle in Vancouver and make plans for building the $100 million rooftop condo. You're looking at a top-notch $100 million condo. Look at something unheard of, like an automatic door, top-notch GPS system, high-tech alarm system. Listen, I'm talking about our private IMAX home theater, luxury pool, luxury living room, you know what I'm saying, a jacuzzi room, our own gym, our nice luxury room, our luxury bathroom. Look at something unheard of, our luxury terrace, our luxury garage. Look at something top-notch. Yeah, and that's why my wife will fucking help me, because I fucking saved her ass. It's because of me, you and me get to live this beautiful life. Yeah, you're fucking welcome, sweetie. You're fucking welcome, sweetheart. Yeah. So once I meet VJ in Los Angeles and we settle in Vancouver and make plans for building the $100 million rooftop condo, buying the jet, you're looking at Tomas jet. I gave it some thought. For the jet, what I'll do for the jet is me and my wife can pay with our personal account for the jet. That way we can put more money into the movie. Because yeah, the jet's a part of the business, but you can, even though it's a part of the business, you can still pay with your personal account. There's exceptions. That way me and my wife can get a better jet. So me and my wife can get a good like $65 million jet. We can pay with our personal account. If you have $9 million in your bank, it's pocket change. Me and my wife, what I'll do for the jet, me and my wife will pay with our personal account. We'll get a nice like 65 million, 70 million jet, easily affordable. Because if you want to get a top-notch jet, you need to put like 50, 60 plus million into it. A $4 million jet is a cheaper jet. If you want to get a top-notch jet, you need to get a cheaper jet. I don't want it affecting the budget. So what I'll do for the jet, me and my wife will, so the 540, instead of having the jet as part of the business account, me and my wife can buy the jet with a personal account. We can get a nice 65 seminar jet. We got $9 million in your bank. It's pocket change. Because again, me and my wife are going to make a good $9 million off the book sales. $5 billion is me being generous. No, me and my wife are going to make a good $9 million off the book sales, man. Do the math, man. $9 billion. 9, perhaps even $10 billion. $10 billion like max. Me and my wife are going to make a good $9 plus billion off the book sales. $9 billion off the book sales. So what I'll do is me and my wife can pay for the jet. We can pay with our personal account. We can get a nice 65 seminar jet. That way it's a top-notch jet. And what I'll do is I'll put more money into special effects. So it's the $40 million that's going to the jet. What I'll do is instead of putting $340 million towards special effects, I'll put $380 million towards special effects. That way you get an even better movie. That way you have more money for the budget. So I'll put $550 towards the movie, and I'll put $380 million towards special effects. That way you get even a more enhanced experience. Better action sequence, better world, and even more horror for the wolves. That's where we're looking at something unheard of for Zanes. $380 million I'm going to put towards special effects. So instead of putting $40 million towards the jet as part of the business account, me and my wife can use our personal account and put $7 million to buy a top-notch unheard of jet. $100 million towards jets is you being stupid. No. Me and my wife can get a nice 65, $7 million jet. And we can put like an extra, and that money that was going to be used towards a jet, we put that towards special effects. We'll put $380 million towards special effects. So we get something unheard of for the horror and of the wolves and the bats, and those unheard of action sequences. Those are some top notch, right? That's why you're looking at something unheard of for Zane. You're looking at an 8K world, man. Like, 8K world. And my world will look amazing, will look more natural. I'll talk about that later on. How I'm not a fan of digital cameras. I'm gonna lease IMAX cameras, but I want it filmed on film, not digital. That way your world looks more natural. I'm gonna put like 30 million towards separating. I'm gonna add special effects, that way your world looks more natural. I'm not gonna have Aerotap be a full-on CG wolf. I'm gonna have him wear a mask, have the voice actors wear a mask and the costumes, and you apply the special effects, that way the Aerotap looks more scary, and he doesn't look too CG. Because I'm not a fan of full-on CG, no. You need to mix with your physical effects, that way your world looks more natural. I'm not a fan of the CG look. I want the natural look. I'll talk about it later on in this video. Right? So, make plans for building our $100 million rooftop condo, buying the jet, the yacht. I'm going to put a good $20 million towards the yacht. The yacht we can pay with our personal account, towards the yacht. Clothes. Right, leasing our nice cars. I'm gonna get a nice Ferrari and a Jeep, and then my second set of cars, I'll get an Audi and like I don't know. My second set of cars, I might get an Audi and like a Lamborghini or something like that. An Audi and a Lambo or like a Chevrolet or something like that. Or no, an Audi and a Lamborghini will be my second set of cars. And Victoria Justice will most likely get like a Lexus and a Benz or something like that. Hey, you're welcome, Victoria. I fucking saved your ass. Right. And that's why my wife is so proud of me, because of me, we get to live this fucking life. Without me, she'd be sabotaged in Hollywood, not see me. She'd be sabotaged. Like, yeah, Victoria just is rich, but she doesn't know what it's like to be a multi-billionaire. Having $9 billion in your bank, she doesn't know what it's like to have that kind of money in your bank. Yeah. Hence, you're fucking welcome, Victoria. And she'll be sharing the account with me. Obviously. Hence, once we go to Vancouver and VJ registers to Scotiabank for a Visa and debit card, Victoria Justice is going to cry because she never had that kind of money before. Yeah, she's rich, but she's a survivor. I guarantee Victoria Justice has like $800,000 in her bank or something like that. They say she's worth $10 million. I guarantee Victoria Justice has like $900,000 in her bank. She's a fucking survivor, yeah, man. She owns like a $1 million house. Yeah, she owns nice cars. But like when you have billions in your bank, $9 billion, you can get whatever car you want. You can get whatever clothes you want. You can spend $300,000 in clothes. Not affecting your budget at all. Yeah, you're fucking welcome, Victoria. Just a sec here. I'll be back in a sec. Sorry, I had to kill a spider. It was a spider on the ground. Yeah, this house is infested with insects, man. It's fucking bad. Okay, right? Lease for nice cars. I will have George Lucas. So once me and my wife sell Vancouver, we make our during those 2 months we make our plans. We're building a $100 condo, buying the jet, leasing the yacht, and all that stuff. Me and my wife will what? When we make the plans to start Sky, so during those 2 months, I will have George Lucas himself come to Vancouver. Again, me and my wife can pay. I can have him pay for his own flight because the guy's already rich. But I'll pay for his flight. I don't know what. No. I can have George Lucas. I'll pay for his flight. But during the 2 months, if George Lucas wants to stay in a hotel, I'll have him pay for the hotel. I'm not gonna pay for the hotel because you're that fucking rich. You can pay for your own hotel. You know what I'm saying? I can pay for his flight. No. I'll have George Lucas come to Vancouver. I can have him stay at a hotel for 2 months. I can pay for his hotel out of my own pocket. I'm not gonna pay for his flight. If he wants to fly down there, he has to pay for his own flight. I can pay for his hotel. Me and my wife are gonna stay at a luxury hotel in Vancouver. And during those 2 months, me and my wife and George Lucas is gonna be helping me and my wife plan start SkySource. Right, so I'll have George Lucas come to Vancouver and help me and my wife start SkySource, like the copyright laws, putting out the ads, how many departments are there. Like, I don't know how many departments there are. Me and my wife, George Lucas will tell us how many departments they are for what? For the special effects team and all that stuff. Right? How many departments they are. For example, I will have to lease or build a building. There's a good chance I'll build my own building in Vancouver for the special effects department for my movies. So I'm gonna have to build my own building in Vancouver. I want it in Vancouver. I'm gonna have to build my own building in Vancouver, a big building. I'll put a good $10 million towards building a top-notch building in Vancouver. And that's where all the special effects departments will be working. Because you need to have a building for the special effects team to work. Before I said the middle of nowhere, no, you have to have him in a building to work. I'll have the building in Vancouver. I'll put a good $10 million towards building a building. Because leasing a building is just annoying. Build a building. So when we might make our plans, I'll find land. I'll build a building for the special effects team to work. George Lucas will be helping me and my wife, telling me how many departments are and all stuff for the special effects team, right, for my movies. Hence why I'll need someone like George Lucas helping me and my wife when we start SkySource, right? Considering I do not know that much about the film or entertainment industry, so he'll be helping me and my wife when we start SkySource, when we start our SkySource company, like telling us how many departments they are for the special effects team. I'm going to have to build my own building in Vancouver. There's a good chance I'll just build my own office too. I'll build my own building for my office. It's easier because if you lease space, I want my office on top of a building. The problem is if you lease space, there's a good chance the space that you lease may not be what you want your office to look like. Right? So what I'll do is I'll just build my own building for my office. It's much easier. So I'll build my own building for my office for me, my wife, and the 17. And I'll put $5 million into building my office for me, my wife, and the 17. Again, you're looking at a futuristic, advanced office. I want the future with an automatic door with a GPS system. And I'm also going to build a building for the special effects departments to work, where they're going to work. I'll put a good $10 million towards building the building, and that's where the special effects team and all departments are going to work. Right? It's easier to just build your own building. Me and my wife will just build our own office for me and my wife and 17. Instead of leasing a building in Vancouver, and we'll build a building for the special effects department to work. And George Lucas will be helping me and my wife starting SkySource because I don't know anything about the film industry. I know a little bit, but I need help. I need someone to consult and guide me when I start the company. Hence why I want to. And because George Lucas' company was independent from independent from Hollywood, he's the best man to help guide me and my wife when we start our film entertainment company. I'll pay him a good $30,000. Pay him a good $30,000 to help you for the 2 months. Give George Lucas a nice, even though the man doesn't need the money, pay him a nice $30,000 check to help you and your wife for the 2 months. That way he's more motivated. He'd gladly consult for free, but pay him a nice $30,000 to help you and your wife for the 2 months. Here's $30,000. Help us start our company for SkySource for 2 months. While we plan for 2 months. And after 2 months, me and my wife go on our, 9-10 month vacation. And after 10 months, when we look at all the residents, we hired our 17, the doc team, and all them. During early 2024 around there, me and my wife will be hard at work in the office for pre-production for SkySource, for our Last of Us movie. Right, listen to much for that. right? So he'll be helping me and my wife when we start our SkySource company, like telling us how many departments they are for the special effects team, what to do when we trademark our company. He'll be helping me and my wife throughout the process of starting SkySource during those 2 months in Vancouver. Again, you can pay someone like George Lucas a nice $30,000 bonus. So you not only get this $350,000 check for consulting for the 4 years, he also gets a $30,000 bonus for helping me and wife start SkySource during the 2 months when we were in Vancouver staying at a luxury hotel. Because me and wife are going to stay at a nice luxury hotel during those 2 months in Vancouver. So while our condo gets built, we stay at a luxury hotel for 2 months. And then we go on when we go on our 9-10 month vacation, the luxury rooftop condo is getting built. And what? And we get to what? We get to enjoy our life, obviously. So for someone like George Lucas, me and my wife can pay him a nice $30,000 to help me and my wife, start the process of SkySource, considering he owned an independent company, independent from Hollywood, and he's the best man for the job, obviously. Hence why someone like George Lucas is lucky, as not only will he be saved, he will be helping me and my wife when we start SkySource, and he'll also be consulting throughout the 4 years of the last Overzanius movie. So not only will George Lucas be saved for the 4 years, he's also going to help me and my wife, during when we start SkySource. So George Lucas is going to know what it's like. Yeah, I remember when Ivan and VJ first started SkySource. He's going to know what it's like to see me and my wife first start SkySource. He's going to be saved, yeah. He's going to be saved for the 4 years, and he's going to help me and my wife during those 2 months start SkySource. And after 2 months, you can send him home. And then once I start the process of Last Overzanius, I'll fly him to Vancouver, have him stay. He has to pay for his own flights. I can pay for his hotel stay, but he has to pay for his own flights. And he'll be helping me and my wife during the concert arts consulting. He'll be consulting mainly for stuff to do with the company. He'll be consulting. He'll be helping me and my wife out a lot. Obviously, considering he owned his own company independent from Hollywood. Hence, he'll be saved, and hence why he's fucking lucky. Now, let's talk about Zanus, Last Overzanius. For my Last Overzanius movie, I'm going to keep on saying this. I am not a fan of full CG, as I want my world to look amazing, but look natural. I'm going to keep saying this. Even though my Last Overzanius world and characters, even though my Last Overzanius world will look amazing, I want it to look more natural. I don't want it to look too CG, as I'm not a fan of 2 CG. I don't want Aratat to be a full-on CGI wolf. I want the voice actor to wear a mask, and you have the $380 million towards special effects applied towards that mask. That way, Aratat looks more real, he looks more natural, and he looks more scary. Whereas if you have him as a full-on CGI wolf, he'll look more cheesy, and he'll look too computery, and your movie will be a flop. I don't want Aratat to be a full-on CG wolf, and I'm not a fan of full-on CG. You need to mix your CGI effects with your special effects. For my lands, I'm going to build actual acres of cities. That way the world looks more real. Because I'm putting $380 million towards special effects now, because I'm going to buy the jet with my personal account. I'll get a good $7 million jet with my personal account. That way I can put more money into the movie. I'll put $380 million towards special effects. If you apply that technology towards the advanced set building, like waterfalls, trees, forests, acres of cities, the world will look more amazing. The world will look really amazing, but will look more natural. Hence, you're going to get a better movie, right? I'm also not a fan of filming on digital. Even though I'm leasing IMAX cameras, I'm not going to lease digital IMAX cameras. I'm going to lease film IMAX cameras. That way, you get a more natural look. As I'm not a fan of digital IMAX cameras. Digital is good if you have a full-on CG movie and you want your world to look very computery and more amazing. So for a movie like Star Wars, full-on digital is good. Full-on CG is good, but for my own movie, I'm not a fan of full-on digital or CG, as I want my world to look more natural. Right? So I'm going to keep on saying this. I'm not a fan of full CG, as I want my world to look amazing, but look natural. I don't want Aratat to be a full-on CG character. So the voice actor for Aratat, Morale, for Fool, and for Feast on them, I'm not going to have them wear the CGI technology. No, I'm going to have the crewmen create actual masks. They're going to wear the mask, and then they're going to apply the $380 million technology towards that mask. Hence why that way the wolves and bats look more natural. They look more scary, and they don't look too computer, they don't look cheesy. Because if you have a full-on CG wolf, Aratat will look cheesy, he will look too computer and the movie will be a flop. No, you need to have Eric wear a mask, the voice actor wear a mask. You apply that technology towards the mask. That way he looks more natural, looks more scary. Right? Right, so I don't want Eric to be a full-on CG character. No. I want the voice actors to wear a real mask, a horrific mask, and then have that $380 million towards special effects tech applied onto that already horrific mask. That way, Eric, Ephesius will fool him around all them, look more real and scary. Right? For the IMAX cameras, I'm not a fan of digital IMAX cameras. Like Avengers, I think was filmed in digital IMAX. But for my movies, I'm going to lease my IMAX cameras. I'll lease a good like 7 cameras. I'm not going to waste money and lease like 30 cameras. Just wasting money. I'll lease a good 7 cameras. 7 cameras is enough for Zanus. Lease a good 7 cameras for Zanus. That's for Zanus. But I'm going to have it filmed on film. I don't want it filmed on digital. I want it filmed on film. That way you get a more natural look. And no, you don't get that too computery look. Like full-on CG. I'm not a fan of that. No. You have... If Zanus was full-on CG, the movie would be a flop. You need to have it look natural. You need to have the world... The world will look amazing, better than Avatar, 8K world, but it'll look more natural because I built actual acres of cities and forests. And I filmed it on film, not on digital IMAX camera. Right? 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 So I want the voice actors to wear a real mask and then apply the special effects. Hence why the voice actors need to get... Hence why I need to hire psychologists. Because for the mask, you're looking at something fucking horrific. You're looking at something fucking horrific. Hence, they're going to be wearing that horrific devil mask. Hence why I have to hire psychologists. The voice actors are guaranteed going to be psychologically affected. Because Eric is psychotic. He's a psychotic king. He's a psychotic master wolf king in the south. Ephesus is a devil. Is a devil. Fool his son's a devil, Morale's a devil, Bo, Mass, and Bass, Darius are all devils. Hence, the voice actors for all those actors are going to have to get interviewed by psychologists, as they're guaranteed going to be psychologically affected for the mask. Right? So I want the voice actors to wear a real mask, and then apply the special effects tech onto that already horrific mask. That way, Eric will look more real and scary. For the IMAX cameras, I want it filmed on film, not digital. That way, your world looks more natural. Right? That way your world looks more natural and not too computer. Remember what I said in my past videos? I'm not a fan of full CG. CGI technology is good, but you need to mix it with your physical effects. That way your world looks more natural. Otherwise, if you rely on green screen and blue screen, your world will look what? Your world will look amazing, but it'll look too computery. You need to mix it with your physical effects. Especially for a movie like Last of Us. If you want to get that natural feel to what you need to mix with your physical effects. Hence why I'm going to build like 8 acres for Zanus, 5 acres for Saphius, I don't know, 2 acres for Cyrus. You know what I'm saying? 7, 8 acres for Barak. An acre and a half for the forest. That way your world looks more natural. And if you add the special effects, your world will look more amazing, but it will have that natural feel to it. Hence, you're going to get a better movie. As I'm not a fan of full CG, as if you have your movie in full CG, your world will look too computery. Hence why I'm not a fan of full CG. And I'm going to give you an example here. For example, when you compare the original Lord of the Rings to the Hobbit trilogy, when you compare the original Lord of the Rings trilogy to the Hobbit trilogy, you could see a huge difference in the trilogies, as the orcs in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, they were scary. They looked more natural because they had practical effects. The world looked more natural because they had more practical effects, right? Contrast to the Hobbit, right? Contrast that to the Hobbit trilogy, whereas the orcs were full-on CG orcs, hence they looked more computery. They weren't as scary. They looked more cheesy, obviously. The world building was more cheesy, was full on CG, and so the world looked amazing, but looked too computery. The action sequences looked too computery because why? Because in the Hobbit trilogy they relied more on full on CG, whereas the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, the world looked more natural because they actually applied practical effects for the orcs. For the boss orc, they applied makeup, masks, practical effects. Hence why the orcs look more scarier and they look more natural. Whereas the orcs and the Hobbit were all full-on CG, hence they looked more what? Cheesy and too computery. The world looked more cheesy and computery because they relied on full-on CG. They filmed the movie in digital, in digital cameras, whereas in the contrast to the Lord of the Rings trilogy, they filmed the movie in film. Hence why I'm not a fan of digital cameras. I want Xenos filmed on IMAX film, not IMAX digital. I'm not a fan of digital. Digital is only good if you want your world to look more amazing and have it full on CG. But if you want your world to look more natural, you need to film your cameras on film, non-digital. Hence why I'm in at least seven IMAX cameras. But I'm going to have it filmed on film, not digital. That way your world looks more natural. I'm going to build actual acres of cities and forests and apply the mask and have the wolves wear masks and bats wear masks and apply makeup effects and costume effects. That way the wolves and bats look more natural and look more scary, look more real, right? Again, I gave you that contrast from the Hobbit trilogy and the original Lord of the Rings trilogy. So for the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, the world looked more natural, and the wolves and the orcs were scarier because they applied makeup effects, practical effects, masks to the orcs. Hence why the orcs were scarier in the original of the Rings. Whereas for the Hobbit, they're full-on CG orcs, which I'm not a fan of. And if you do that, your characters will look too computery, and they'll look cheesy. Hence why I'm not a fan of full-on CG characters or world building. Or filming for the cameras, right? Right. So contrast. There's a huge difference in the trilogy. The orcs in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, looked more natural and scarier, whereas in the Hobbit trilogy, the orcs looked too CG and computery, and the world looked too CG computery. Right. Right. Because in the Hobbit trilogy, they used too much CG and less physical practical effects. Hence why the orcs and the world look too computery and not as natural as the original Lord of the Rings trilogy. Hence, for the Last of Xenos project, I'll be putting a lot of money towards physical effects, like actual acres for the forest, the lands. I'm not going to have Eric be a full-on CG voice actor, no. I'm not going to have Eric be a full-on CG character, no, otherwise you're going to flop. I'm going to have the voice actor wear what? I'm going to have him apply makeup and a mask, the voice actor, that way he looks more real. The horrific mask, that way he looks more real and scarier and more natural, as well as for all the other characters. And for the world building, I'm actually going to put a good like $25 plus $30 million towards physical effects, like actual artificial mountains, waterfalls, trees, forests. That way your world looks more natural. But because I'm adding so much money towards special effects, your world will even look more amazing. Hence why you're looking at something better than Avatar, because the world will look more natural. Remember that picture I showed you in my Phase 3 announcement? That amazing world? In the end of the video, I showed you that amazing world. You're looking at something like that for the world of the North and the South. You're looking at something like Avatar, except the world looks more natural. It looks super amazing, like 8K world, 8K technology, except the world looks more natural. The wolves and bats will be horrific. Scariest beings ever in movie history. Except they're going to look more natural, hence they're going to look scarier. And I'm also going to film the movie in IMAX. IMAX is the best camera in Hollywood. I'm going to film it on film, not digital. That way your world looks more natural, not CG. If you had your world too CG, your movie will be a flop. I'm not a fan of full CG. Film your movie in film and have your world look more natural. If you're doing a fantasy movie. Like Lord of the Rings or Last of Xenos. I told you the contrast. Contrast to Hobbit with Lord of the Rings, you see a huge difference. In Lord of the Rings, they use too much CG. Sorry, in Lord of the Rings, they use more practical effects, and they applied physical effects toward the practical effects. Toward the practical effects. Hence why the world looked more natural, and the orcs look more scarier. Like the boss orc looks scarier. And you compare that to the Hobbit. You use full-on CG for the orcs. Hence, the orcs looked CG and looked too computery. The goblins looked too CG and computery. The world looked amazing, but it looked too computery. The battle sequences looked too computery because they relied heavily on CGI effects, less on natural effects. Whereas for the war, for my movies, I'm actually going to hire 25,000 extras for the wolves, 50,000 extras for what? For the human army. That way, your world looks more natural. Whereas if you just hire like 1,500 extras and you apply CGI effects, you'll look too computery and you won't get as good of a war. Hence why I'm not... It will look amazing, but it will look too computery. Hence why I'm not a fan of full-on CGI. Right? So we put a lot of money towards physical effects, like actual acres of forests, lands, masks for the wolves and bats, hiring thousands of extras for the war and gatherings, as well as applying $380 million towards special effects. I'm putting $380 million towards the movie now because me and my wife can use the business, our personal account to pay for a jet. We can get a nice 65 seminar jet, a better jet. That way we can pour our money into the movie. So I'll put a good $380 million towards special effects. This is gonna be top notch, man. Right? And gatherings, as well as applying the $380 million towards special effects. Hence why my world building, action sequences, and the horror of Aratat and the wolves and the bats, like Ephesus and all of them, right, will be so amazing, but will look so amazing, but look more natural. So picture something like Avatar, except it looks more natural. Picture something like the orcs in Lord of the Rings, the original Lord of the Rings, except 3 times scarier than all those orcs in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Hence why I'll keep on saying this, right? I am not a fan of full-on CGI, as your world and characters will look too computer. I'm going to keep saying this. Contrast Lord of the Rings original trilogy with The Hobbit. You see a difference. In The Hobbit, the world looked amazing, too computery, whereas in Lord of the Rings, they had more physical and practical effects. Hence why the orcs look more natural, look more scarier, and the world looked more natural, whereas in The Hobbit, the world looked amazing, but it was too computery and too CG. The action sequences in the war looked too computery and too CG. But why? Because they relied heavily on CGI technology, which I'm not a fan of. CGI is good, but you need to mix it with your physical effects. That way your world is more natural. Right? Hence why I'm not a fan of full-on CG, as your world and characters will look too computery. Your world will look amazing, obviously, but it will look too computery, as you need to mix it with your physical effects. That way your characters and world building look more natural. And if you add the special effects to the mask, the horrific mask for the wolves and bats, right? For Aratat, Ephesus, for Fool, Morale, and all of them, right? If you add your special effects towards your practical effects, a lot of money towards your special effects, towards your practical effects, towards a mass advanced world building, advanced set building, your world will look amazing, but have that natural feel to it. Right? I am also not a fan of digital cameras, as I want Xenos to be filmed on film, not digital. That way your world will look more natural and not look too computery. So I'm going to keep saying this. So even though I'm going to lease IMAX cameras, I'll lease a good 7 IMAX cameras for the movie, I am not a fan of digital IMAX cameras. I'm going to film my movie on film, not digital. That way my world looks more natural. My world will look amazing, something like Avatar, but it will look more natural because I'm putting a lot of money towards I'm putting money towards physical effects, like the horrific masks for the wolves and the bats, Aratat and all them, Ephesus and all them, as well as I'm building actual acres of cities, and I'm applying that $380 million towards special effects. Hence, my world will look amazing, but it'll also look more, very natural. So picture something like Avatar, except the world looks more natural, not too CG. Show my camera up here.